August 8th, 7 p.m. And I'd like to call the public hearing to order. It's posted on the town website. I'll read it here quick. Public hearing will be held on the 8th of August 2023, 7 p.m. at the town hall for ordinances -1.6 ward boundaries, 1-11 assessment reports and fees for duplicate tax bills, 2-4 licenses for soda water beverages, 2-5 for direct sellers, 3-5 assemblages of large numbers of people, 6-2 driving regulations.
The drafts are all on the town website.
Town website, yep. So first call for anyone that has anything to say about these ordinances. I believe these were just minor text changes.
Yeah, mostly referring them to the fee schedule,
Right.
Yep.
except for 6-2 driving regulations. I would,
Going once, going twice. Second call for anyone that wants to have public input.
Make a motion to adjourn public
Okay, I did a
hearing.
third call, hang on.
Oh, sorry.
Third call for anyone that wants to provide public opinion on the ordinances. Okay.
Now I make a motion to adjourn the public hearing.
I'll second the motion.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries to adjourn. All right, it is 7:01. And I'd like to call on August 8th, and I'd like to call the Town of Lake Mills Town Board meeting to order. The meeting agenda is posted, and notice is posted at the town hall and on the town website. Can we get a motion to adopt tonight's agenda?
Make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries to adopt tonight's agenda. Can we get a motion to approve July 11th, 2023's meetings?
I'll make that motion to approve.
Second the motion.
Any other discussion?
Nope.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries to approve July's minutes. Can we get a motion to approve the treasurer's report?
Make a motion to approve August 2023 Treasurer's Report.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries to approve the treasurer's report. Can we get, is there any expense
Here's
sheets?
just one for some postage that I had.
For Robin for $8.56. I make a motion to approve the expenses for Robin.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. All right. Can we get a motion to approve the general fund vouching?
I'll make a motion to approve August 8th disbursements of $65,086.69.
Second that motion.
Any other discussion on that?
HRS Associates Town Hall, did that $6,000 come out of the ARPA or
Yes.
is that?
I did, okay. Is that the final bill?
That should be the final. He said they will do whatever we need them to until we're all through the process at this point.
There's no time limit on the ARPA, is there?
Yeah, there is.
Yeah,
Has to
but
be
it's
spent
several
by
years out.
December, you meant when it has to be used?
Yeah.
December of 2024. It has to be reported by December of 2026. To the government. Yeah, it has to be spent by the end of December 2027.
We're still about 87,000.
You can let that disappear.
187,000.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I was just repeating. 187.
Yeah, I was gonna say, wait a minute, I was just gonna look. Lane,
Any other discussion?
skip the beat. It's a good thing we got some.
Good, Dave?
Yep.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Reports, police report. Mick's not here tonight, but he just gave a lowdown. Hours were down a little bit again last month, particularly because of that storm in Fort Atkinson. 3 of the officers live there, and they were doing storm cleanup, which didn't help matters, but he's doing all he can to ramp things up. But he does have some, again, as we reported last month, is finding some people, so it's kind of a rebuilding process, and that takes a little bit of time. All right, Plan Commission report.
No report, we did not meet.
Cambridge Fire and EMS report, Dave.
Nothing to report.
Joint Rock Lake Committee report, Wendy.
We've had 2 meetings since I reported last. We had a regular meeting on July 13th, which ended up being a really big meeting with over 30 people in the audience. For some reason, in the Lake Mills Leader, it said there was going to be an open forum at our meeting, which was not the case. And we don't even know who put that in there. But anyhow, we had extensive public comment regarding the Rock Lake water levels. Many people very passionate on all levels. Riparian rights, can't get my pier in, can't get my boat in. I'm worried about the turtles, I'm worried about the frogs and the erosion. So it's a very emotional situation. We probably had, I don't know, over 30 people, and most of them talked. They were very good, though. Nobody kept repeating themselves from what somebody else had said. We did receive, presented with a petition signed by over 336 individuals expressing concerns about the Rock Lake. I've given the paper copy to the clerk and electronic copy also. During that meeting, which we had, we'd been asked by the city through a resolution to give them some opinions on lake levels or some options on what we might think. And so as a result, we invited some people that we thought could give us some input to speak at that meeting. So Susan Trier talked, representing Rock Lake Improvement Association, and Robin has a copy of that presentation. It was very informative, a lot of statistics, a lot of data, a lot of information for us to bring in. They also recommended that we hold a public forum in August, at our August meeting, and we needed to take action fast. Eric Schreiner also spoke about how the dam operates and his opinions on things that way, because there are issues with the dam's operation. As it relates to the DNR dam order. We had 2 representatives from the DNR, Erin Cox, who's a specialist on approving dam orders, a water management specialist, she's a water management specialist, and Will Disser, water management engineer, and they provided a lot of information, particularly Erin Cox. She's the one that they would send their request for order change to. So she spent a little time telling us about that, how they have to go about that. Zach, in the report it says Jack, it should be Zach Nagel, is the new representative from the Jefferson Land and Waters. He replaced Marissa. So he's still coming up to speed, but he sat there and participated as he could. After a lot of discussion, each of the Joint Rock Lake members in attendance took one of the points that are in the resolution that the city wants us to report on. I did a report at the city council meeting regarding the petition because I gave them an electronic copy of the petition. And I reported that and I just did this during public comment, so I didn't really have a slot on the agenda, so they didn't give me much feedback, which is the way it goes. The petition was addressed, I told them the petition is addressed to decision makers and managing parties who manage the Rock Lake water levels, and to meet with the residents to discuss the analysis of the current water levels and so on. And so I kind of was saying that because we didn't think that it was kind of appropriate that the Joint Rock Lake Committee do the public forum. We were asked to give them opinions, and so they didn't really they said we should do what we needed to do, and I just told them that was kind of our opinion, that we didn't think we were the right team to do that.
You could ask the city to do that. I mean,
Right.
Really, they're controlling that gate anyway.
Right.
But it's a fight between them and the DNR. So you have to have both those parties there, and you probably have to have somebody there from the sewage treatment plant, because that affects the sewage treatment plant too.
Right, and the
So
fish hatchery.
you need those 3 parties at that deal, and really I don't think it should happen here. We don't have enough room in this place.
No,
anyway.
we have.
And let the city council levy that.
Well, I think as we give our options, and we have not voted on any options yet. So what I'm telling you is just our opinions and our thought process. And it is going to be our thought process that in our options, we'll say that if they need more public input, they should conduct a public forum. Because as I understand public forums, they have pretty specific rules and regulations of how they should do it. And I don't know that we would be the right people.
Right.
And so then as a result of that last meeting, we decided we needed a working session so that we could kind of drill down into what we thought our options would be. So we had another special meeting on the 24th, and at the beginning of that meeting, I did announce that there'd be no public comment. I also put that on the agenda during that meeting. And it was kind of okay, because we did have exceptions in that some of us might say, Susan, we know that you understand this, can you tell us that? Or so we did leave that option up for us to ask questions, and we did. There's a lot more on the paper I gave you, but I'll summarize it a little quicker. Kevin, a city representative on our committee, he's made a recommendation with two options regarding revising the current water level. His option, number one, is to keep the water level at a target level all the time. And he recommended we keep it at what the dam order now is, the highest level all year round. If you read further down, it also is a recommendation that they figure out how to, I shouldn't say figure out, but they set a dam management program that's more close. I don't want to say that either, but it's followed closely and reported on and checked on, because there are issues with the water level being this and the dam being set this, but they don't match. So there are issues with software, it sounds like.
Well, that should be governed by the DNR. And the DNR has really, I mean, you're dealing with two government agencies, essentially. And it's government versus government.
It's quite interesting because the DNR writes the order.
We're kind of the little guys, even
Right.
though, we, have, enforcement and stuff on the lake. We can't really do a lot because of the intergalactical politics there, but the professional data should really come from the DNR's got to have historical record of these water's highs and
Right.
lows. And really, they're the ones that should be reporting on this.
They have a lot of data, and they did actually provide stuff, information to us. And again, like I've reported in here and at our meeting, we aren't the scientists that know how
Correct.
to understand all of this. But if you tell me that this is this and this is this, and our assumption is, as ordinary people, that doesn't make sense, we'll just make an option that says that's why we did it.
Right, and I think the hard data is coming from them is important because, you can put 20
really-
organizations together and the data might look different between all the 20 organizations because they're going to pit, in their own corner.
It's really kind of it's interesting in listening to all the reports that the dam order was requested by the city, and they wrote the order, and the city has to manage the order, and they manage the dam, and they manage the software that runs the dam, which is, doesn't always seem to be operating as it should.
And I think that voice is understandably heard, I think, but I think if you do that in front of the DNR, they can, they're the ones that can levy greater restriction and demand something like that. We can't necessarily do that.
But we can't, but they won't change anything unless there's a request for a change.
Right, but you have to do, that's what I'm saying.
Right,
Yeah,
and that's
but
why the city has the responsibility.
But that's why you got to get those two
Right.
parties together and the sewage treatment,
Yep.
party together.
But it didn't sound like the DNR had any reason to, or they didn't control the software program.
Right.
The software program was written when the dam was built, and the city has not changed it. And
Correct.
that, to me, was a big point that software needs to be looked at. The DNR
Updated,
didn't
yeah,
care. They
absolutely.
just worried about
It
the
needs to be
level.
updated, and it needs to be
Right.
monitored,
Controlled.
that it's right, because, you can say it's a software, but if I'm the manager of that software, I should call the company when it's working right.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, a lot of that's coming to light. So anyhow, Kevin also recommended that we eliminate the winter and summer low limits. And then his second those were options. A second recommendation is what we just talked about, dam operation and performance. So we would probably recommend just what you were saying, that the city create a dam operations and maintenance manual and so forth. And then also monitor that, make sure it's doing what the manual
No,
says
better
it's supposed to do.
protocols and back checks in place, no
Right.
question about it. That's just standard operating procedure.
And part of the other thing that the city asked in their resolution was to tell us to tell them what do they have to do to change, to request a change. And Pat Stevens, he's on our committee from the city again, and he went through, and there's many things I wrote in this report that I'm not going to read all of it, but he gave them some guidance on how they need to go about making that request. And the request doesn't necessarily, as you said, have to say any data in it, because the DNR, once they get that request, are going to go through all environmental issues and everything they need to do to agree or disagree with it.
Correct, and I think everyone needs to bear in mind that we're in a serious drought, pretty serious drought. I mean, it's almost to the point where fire ban's coming around the corner again, it's getting dry again. And you have organisms, which is probably the greatest concern, environmental concerns within the watersheds. But you have Rock Lake and you also have Rock Creek, and there's organisms in there. And that's the reason the DNR has set those max-min limits of water flow through there. I mean, there's a lot of science going on there, and I didn't want to get into that.
And as far as the required amount to go out to the Rock Creek, there's no arguing that we aren't going to recommend any change. And that if you know how the dam operates, that goes under the dam all the time, and nobody.
I think you start with the technology. Yep. I think that's the first starting block, because that could be a pretty big factor, and it could dial it in a lot closer too. Mm-hmm. Just because it's so old, and that may help a little bit, but it may not solve 100% of the problem. But you may get a percentage of solved, which is better than anything.
We're in a pretty severe drought. There was some drought last year. There was some drought here. So and you probably have gone around the lake, and there's a lot of people that have extended their piers 30 feet and they're still not in the water, especially on this one side of
it's all over the state, not just here.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
So anyhow, I did more data analysis. A lot of it Susan had done for me. I rechecked it and added a little bit more on water levels, ice-off dates. A lot of have changed over the years somewhat, so there is some reason to ask for a change in the levels. My recommendation, based on what I've seen, is I say get rid of it, just have a spring to November, November to spring, and leave it at that. If you really look at what they're doing now, they're almost doing that right now anyway. I've got some charts I'll show them. Anyhow, it was agreed that public comment would be taken at our August meeting. It would not be a public forum. So if anybody can normally talk, they can speak. So at our next meeting, we are each taking our own recommendations, which I just briefly gave you, and we're going to do pros and cons, and we don't need just one option for them. We might give them 3 or 4 based on, and we'll say pros and cons, and here's the data we think supports it based on our best knowledge. So.
And who are you going to take that to?
Well, that'll be put in our report to the city. They want to report by November 1st.
Okay. And do you have a DNR contact in the folder ready for that?
I have several DNR contact people right now.
Yeah, they should all get.
I've got the 2 we just mentioned, and they were at our meeting, and then I've called, I can't remember his name, but he's the Lakes DNR for Jefferson County, and I'm waiting to hear from the fishery DNR person. They kind of point a lot to, anyhow, that I do have them as far as giving us information and inviting them to our meetings as they want, but I think we're done with getting presentations from them based on what the city asked us to do.
Right, but what I would do is I would get them to that November 1st meeting, because you're going to have your recommendations, and I would also, if you're going to email those to the council members or whoever, to the clerk, and then it goes to the council members, it probably the board of those as well here at the town board level. So email those to Robin. Also keep the DNR.
Sure.
I would email them as well. And try to get them to that meeting, because they're going to sit there and listen to the council talk too, and I think they need to hear some of that stuff.
Okay.
Otherwise, they're out of the loop, and then it's just a much slower progression once you do
Well,
get
we
them
had the
involved.
4 people pretty well in the loop, and I copied them on everything as well as the communications. That we
Keep them well informed, yeah, absolutely.
So anything else you want to know?
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, town chairman report, city, county, and state communications. City, not a whole lot going on there other than Public Works Board. They're going through some, finalizing some of their 4 or 5 year plan. that was being done. So some of the, obviously the costs are going up on a lot of things. I mean, most of it looked, in order. There's just a couple of things that we don't get in, that we are involved with that we don't have a lot of say in, which I think maybe with, a new fire chief that should just be a reboot. But anyways, that's at the city level. County level's been mostly roads talks. Brian's here tonight, so he knows all about that. So kind of round and round there on Rock Lake Road and other things, Korth Highlands or Korth Park, and obviously the Korth Highlands that we just completed. That they did a nice job on. At the state level, not a whole lot going on there. Roads report, lots of trees and brushing with the storms that we've had. Unfortunately, it's added on a lot of costs this year to our maintenance budget. And we're also seeing a massive number of trees die this year, and that's going to continue probably over the course of the next 2 or 3 years with the several droughts in a row and gypsy moth or spongy moth is what they call it now, having the effect on oaks. There's a ton of dead oaks, and a lot of them are in the town right away, so there's going to be some tough decision making going on. But my next communications to the state, or at least to our legislatures, is going to be going after changing the town right away law as far as trees are concerned. Because I don't think it's fair if the town has to take them down and then, we have to leave the wood there, and sometimes the wood disappears and sometimes it stays there. And to me, it's like, we should give the homeowner the option to take the tree down if they want to mill it into lumber or whatever, but the town should also have the right if we've got to pay to have it taken down. Because it's so expensive. I mean, you're looking at anywhere from $1,500 to $2,500 a tree. It's crazy. So anyways, that's that. Road report, there's a few potholes popping up again, nothing too major. I did get the report from Lance Stock on Bean Lake Road and the gravel roads that we have. And then Alley Road, I've informed Matt to get those potholes just filled up with some limestone. It wasn't anything too major. And as far as mowing's concerned, I don't know the verdict's out on the mowing. There's quite a few places that got missed, and
As far as ditch mowing,
yeah.
when do you know is?
And I've contacted a couple of people to try to get them interested in providing us with
So
quotes.
by later this year, early next year, we should be looking at maybe rebidding it, but
Yeah.
do you know when he's going out again this fall, so we can?
Well,
Do people get stuff out of the right of ways or something?
yeah, it's already up. I mean, usually September.
Labor Day.
Yep, Labor Day is the next round.
Tom, do you have a list of spots that need to be touched up? So make sure that, because he
It's
did
just
call.
weird. It's weird pieces. It's like there's 100. I know there's several of them in the Short Hills neighborhood, all over the place.
Yeah, that might be a neighbor thing.
I was gonna say, sometimes it's people saying, I don't want this
Yeah.
mowed because I have something planted.
But you can't take the orders from them.
I know.
That's the
but
problem.
That's what happens, because they come out and.
If you want to make a list,
Stuff
because
planted.
Glenn did call.
There's
said
that
if we
blind
see-
corner, I don't know
If
if
we
you've
missed
seen that.
anything, that he should, we'll let him know.
Yeah.
And he come back out, but on his next pass, which will be around Labor Day, we can have him make sure he.
And I got some pictures because I took some pictures, not of our stuff here, but of actually I watched one up north do it on our town roads up there, and they're poor up there, and it's night and day difference. And I was like, wow, they're still going too fast. I mean, you can see it because it's
Right, yeah, because it lays it down.
Yeah.
And there's a couple in London subdivision too that
So-
actually forbid mowing in their right of way.
You had made the comment, there's a lot of those yard signs that are in the road right
Yeah,
now.
that doesn't help
causes
either.
damage to the equipment too, so people need to remove those.
that was lesser. I mean, he stopped and started again. It just looks like heck, when they have to do that. But there was just big chunks like on blind corners where there's nothing there, and it's just stuff is 5 feet tall now. I'm gonna have to have Matt weed whack it, to get it down because you can't have that on a blind corner.
Get an idea from Glenn or somebody, make sure he's on the ball, that he's gonna be cutting again on Labor Day. I
Well, he's
put a
not the one
notice out.
cutting though, it's somebody else usually, isn't it?
But he's
Glenn
the
usually
contractor.
operates one, and then he has a helper that.
It looked like a younger guy.
He's our
Wasn't
contractor,
Glenn.
he's our main
Yeah,
contract.
he's responsible. But Glenn's usually out there somewhere.
Cause he just, or does a ride around, but I'm more than willing to do that too.
If I can give notice to the people in advance to remove things or make sure it's cleared out, that would help.
I would go ahead and
tremendously.
do that anyway, because there's a million stakes, those fiberglass stakes up, which
Okay.
the mower will take those down, but it's not gonna take down steel stakes and metal without
Yeah.
damaging.
That wraps, makes fires.
Okay.
Yep, so that's it on that. All right, Parks Committee report, no meeting. Town Hall Facilities Committee,
We have a meeting coming up this Thursday. We're gonna start looking at, kind of some feedback we received from different companies about the estimates. We're gonna talk about the referendum question language and then future agenda items and such, so.
okay, thanks Robin. Period of public comment. This is time now, if the general public wants to come up and make commentary, you're more than welcome to do so. Come to the podium, please state your name, write your name down, address, and please keep it to 3 minutes. Anybody? All right, moving on. Applications, discussion or decision of application received for appointment to the Joint Rock Lake Committee. Daniel Smith. Come on down, it's like the price is right. How you doing tonight? Thanks for your
good,
interest
yeah.
in the Joint Rock Lake Committee.
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Good.
Good.
I don't have a whole lot of questions. I think you kind of illustrated here in your short synopsis. The only thing I'm going to add in is that, are you new? Have you done any other government committees or council?
This would be my first government
Okay.
thing. I mentioned briefly about a kind of a public forum that we started when I lived in Sun Prairie many years ago, where we kind of were more lobbyists, and we went to all the local neighboring municipalities to try and extend bicycle accessibility throughout the area.
Okay.
So-
Yeah, that's the only thing I'm just going to chime in on is that this is a government committee.
Yep.
So it's not affiliated with any organization or
Yep.
agendas of organizations or whatever. I mean, we encourage working with other organizations, especially, for grants and things like that. But at the same time, the two or three or whatever, it can't be melded together.
Yeah.
And it's happened in the past, and I just want to forewarn that.
Yep.
This is a town committee, so you report to the town board, and the town governs, obviously, essentially the lake and things like that. So
Yeah.
it was whole purpose, so the board didn't have to sit there and deal with lake issues all the time.
Sure.
To have the
Well,
committee.
appointments always get our packet that we put together. It goes over
Yeah.
your open meeting laws,
Yep.
kind of the basics of your new
Yep.
committees and stuff, and it just ask questions if you have them. That's
Yep.
the biggest thing.
Yeah, I'm definitely familiar just from doing some research, and other people I know that are on some committees and boards in Madison as well.
Okay, good.
So I kind of have a basis knowledge of kind of what I'm stepping into, and
Yep.
passionate about the lake, passionate about the community. So that's kind of my drive to be a part of this.
Yeah, we don't want you to get in any, because there is, Rob will get you all that information. We don't
Sure.
want to see anybody getting hot water over legal
Sure.
issues, and
Yep.
we don't want to get into any legal issues.
I will say one thing that has come up since I actually put my application in is that me and some business partners, after submitting my application to this, have decided to move forward with submitting a proposal for the restaurant on Rock Lake. So, I mean, that's obviously an opportunity where I could recuse myself if that's anything that's of an issue from the board, but
Yeah, and that would be appropriate,
Yep,
on those
absolutely.
particular, discussions.
yeah, for sure.
Yep. And the last thing I'll say is it's not an enforcement committee. Neither is the town board. That's why we have law enforcement.
For sure.
Essentially, or our legal department, essentially. But yeah, and in the past, I know things can get emotional, and you just gotta,
Yep.
stay in.
As you were saying earlier, it's more about science and
Been there, done that myself. So.
for sure.
All right, that's all I have. Anyone else?
Nope.
I guess I'll make a motion to appoint Daniel Smith to the Joint Rock Lake Committee.
Second?
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
opposed say nay. Welcome aboard.
All right, thank you.
Daniel, I'll be in touch with you to get you signed for oath of office and then the other information, okay?
Discussion or decision of applications for operators licenses.
Both these have been checked out and approved by, okayed by the police department, I guess, Robin said, so.
Correct, yep.
I make a motion to approve, oh boy.
Yeah, good luck.
Candy Welch
Yummy
and-
South Noise and Candy Lynn Welch.
Yes,
I was
that's-
second.
All right, any other discussion?
No.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Old business. Discussion or decision or resolution for intergovernmental agreement with Cambridge Fire EMS table. We don't need to open that.
Yeah, we'll leave it on the table. I
Yep.
think there's really
Okay.
nothing new.
Discussion and or decision of EMS interstate coverage approach with Jefferson County. Well, we can get Paul up here to talk about that. I think I saw a recent email that came through on that.
Is it okay if I defer to Deputy Chief and sit back?
Absolutely.
and have a conversation?
And I did not hear back from Todd, from the county.
We can update you on that as well.
Okay. He was gonna try to organize a meeting and I don't know if that failed.
Todd's been very busy. I talked to him a couple days ago.
Okay, all right.
So,
Jason, this is Tom Beagle, the chair, and then Jim Hines.
Hi.
This is Jason.
Yeah, I apologize.
Good to meet you.
Oh, no, that's fine. It just, these guys took their time to come out and introduce themselves and talk, and I was impressed, so.
So the interstate response, we have verbal agreements right now with 2 communities to help out with the interstate response because there is a time frame for us to get up there.
Yep.
I come from southeastern Wisconsin and I've been up here for about 3 months now. Southeastern Wisconsin, when they redid I-94, we took this theory in from Racine and Kenosha County, where we took multiple agencies responding to the interstate together, and then the first agency gets there, takes control of it, and handles it that way. It's pretty seamless on your guys' end. It's seamless on our end once we get everything in place. We have verbal agreements with Deer Grove right now and with Johnson Creek, I apologize, to do that right now. Johnson Creek is going to their board right now to get the final approval for it, to have something in writing, but everything else is verbally agreed upon between the municipalities. It's all through automatic aid, which is pretty seamless for us. You guys have questions about it?
So is there a timetable to that, or is it a temporary thing until we can relocate, or what was that conversation?
So right now we have it in place until we can address it again.
Okay.
It's very important to us for safety as a residents, obviously for you guys
Correct.
as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So that's why
Yeah, I
we
get
put
it.
that in place. And from my experience from southeastern Wisconsin, even after that construction stopped, we still kept that agreement because it gets people to the patients and to the victims faster. So in our eyes, it doesn't matter who's the transporting agency of that. It's our eyes is getting to the victims and helping them out. And that's pretty much where we're looking at. Timetable, when we have a brick and mortar building, obviously our response times will be a lot faster.
Right.
And that's obviously for the future.
Yep.
Was Johnson Creek one direction and Deer Grove the other?
Correct.
That's what I was gonna jump in on. So
Okay.
Deer Grove is gonna be our coverage for anything that is obviously eastbound, and then Johnson Creek obviously would address westbound. It is definitely possible where they could be dispatched at the same time. In my 30 years of experience on dealing with interstates and Jason's time as well, we will a lot of times get a report from a 911 cell caller, and they're like, I'm on the eastbound side, and they're on the westbound side. So a lot of times that's going to be a dispatch decision on a case-by-case basis on who's sent. They probably might send us all. And that's okay, it happens in other communities. What that means for the patient is they get the quickest person there. Johnson Creek, that deal was in place the very first day this went into effect on July 1. The very first day they were already verbal agreed, yes, we'll help you out. We actually met with them, I think, the day before you and George met. So we had that in place day one. The Deer Grove thing kind of came into play after we started seeing some difficulties with dealing with eastbound, westbound. and trying to address that. There have been instances already that we have met another department up there in correlation, and we're okay with that. We ran into a department that wanted to be in charge and wanted to oversee the patients, even though it was in your township, and we just let that happen. We're not going to get into a tug of war, and we would, for the record, we wouldn't do that if it was up against the city and the town, and the city got there first. We'd be like, whatever is best for the patient is best for the patient, period. We don't see boundaries or politics. We see what's best for the patient. So that's our philosophy in-house as well. Deer Grove has said, just so you know, if we get up there and there's one patient, we will probably cancel you so you don't get up here in a dangerous situation. Johnson Creek has actually said we would prefer not to do that. We would actually prefer to get up there, start treatment of the patient, and you come up and take over. We're okay with that as well. Each department, and we operate differently than that also. We would probably say if you touch the patient, it's your patient, but we understand that each department is able to make that decision and operate differently. What does this mean for the town of Lake Mills and anybody that's driving through? This is the best of all three worlds. You get our department responding, Deer Grove responding a lot of times, and Johnson Creek. So we've got all kinds of resources coming to it, and they can all be turned around if need be or canceled, which we've run into.
And in the history of, like, my experience in the interstate, especially with the construction I'm in for, you're having multiple incidents happening at the same time because there's a triple effect.
You need everybody.
Whatnot. So that's part of the rationale behind that too. Another thing that we're going to get is an engine company to kind of block and make a safe zone for us and the patient. So that's very important for us to have our crews safe.
So then Johnson's Creek, because they would be headed westbound, they have the whole westbound side to the county line, and Deer Grove, because they're coming from the west going east, have the east side.
In theory, that's the verbal agreement that have been made with both agencies. We have asked for written because some departments, our department likes to have stuff in writing. We like to be able to have that. One department expressed to us that they do these things verbally, and it's a chief to chief. Another department has said, we'll take it to our board, and that would be Johnson Creek. Johnson Creek chief, professional guy, just, our crews have had great interaction with him, professional mindset. And he's like, I would make this agreement and just get it done with, but I'm required to take it to my board. So that has not been signed yet and approved. But like I said, both of them for now are verbal. We'd like to progress to the in writing. We can come back to you at a later time if one of them says we can't do it in writing, and let you know that, and let you, talk about what that means for the town. But right now, you're getting those resources. We also talked with Johnson Creek and talked about the possibility of, if it's right around the interstate, right on top of it, exit ramp, on ramp, off ramps, would they be okay with that? Because again, that is a timing factor as well, and that chief has said, absolutely, if we get sent there, we get sent there. What's in the best interest of the patient is working together. And then, of course, he asked us to return the favor. So he said, hey, if we're on the border and we need some extra assistance or an ambulance or mutual aid, we're just asking you guys to return that favor. And of course, she said yes.
Yeah, that's exactly. It's going to take 3 days.
My last point about all this is, I think that's the elephant in the room. If we locate a building, probably some of these agreements somewhat go away, or at least are more, we'll call you if we need you.
Makes it easier.
Yeah, if we're 4 minutes away or 3 minutes away from the interstate, these agreements, will sunset and it'll be over.
Sure.
At least we'll continue to use them as partners as we do now, but that is all dependent upon a location of a building. So I hope that answers.
Good.
So can I answer that for you?
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we need to approve anything on that? No. Just leave it as is. Okay. Discussion or decision to move forward with R.A. Smith to engineer Rock Lake Road. We get a motion to take that off the table.
Make a motion to bring it off the table.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. It's removed from the table. Okay. So I had a meeting with Corey and the state. The state's going to proceed no matter what on Rock Lake Road with the bridge.
What year?
24.
Oh, 24.
Yeah, they're going to proceed, right, that's correct. Fall of 24 or late in 24, I don't remember. It was later, I thought, but.
There's multiple bridges, so, excuse me, I'd imagine that we'll probably get going, not sure which bridge will be first, but we'll probably get going in the spring.
Okay.
Because they're not gonna work on it over the winter.
No, their plan is to
Yeah.
be done, I think, with everything before winter, right? From what I know anyway, from the calls. So they didn't have any hard feelings no matter what decision we make, but I had Brian come tonight just to kind of shed a little light on a few things, just because the thing has been so crazy. So I don't know if you want to get up and talk and kind of let us know some of the options and ideas and.
So just, just gonna re-log in. I was logged into the database just to, give me a second, it logged me out after a couple of minutes here. Just to go over some dates, remind people the dates with this project with the board. So I believe it was in, let's double check here. I believe it was in 1819 is when the town first applied for the DOT funding for Rock Lake Road. Of course, my phone's not working, but I believe it was 1819. And so with that funding, you have 2018, 2019, 2020, 21, 22, 23. So before the end of June 2023, that funding had to be used. So I know over the last several years, like we've had conversations with the state in terms of like when their project was or wasn't going to go, because from a PR standpoint, the feeling was let's try to, because like obviously when Rock Lake Road itself is under construction, it will get shut down in some capacity, but then when the bridge work, you know, I-94 bridge over Rock Lake Road is being done, the road will also get shut down. So the perfect world was do the bridge over while the road, you know, in the same year. So at least we're just shutting it down in 1 year. So that was from day one kind of the goal. And, you know, in the last couple of years that we found from the state, like, no, it wasn't, they weren't going to get it done, their bridge, by 2023. So we looked, and so the program, that LRIP program, generally there aren't time extensions granted. I did ask the DOT, you know, in this weird situation, if that was something that could be, you know, accommodated, and they said no. So they said, well, what you can do is reapply. So that's what was done. It was sort of weird because it's like, okay, do they have to forfeit the old funds? And they were like, well, no, don't forfeit the old funds. We'll keep those just in case, in some chance it doesn't get refunded. So we did not, before reapplying, forfeit the old funds, which through things recently have been a little bit goofy because the DOT has been looking like, why are there two sets of funds in the system? And I did just check, and Tom and I talked like a month or so ago. So just within the last month or so, the old funds have been forfeited. Now the new funds are available. So now those funds, you know, other than from the PR of just if the town would still elect to, you know, build it next year in 2024, you know, from the PR standpoint, there's only one closure, Rock Lake Road, but the town would have, because that was, let's see, funds are applied from the 22-23 cycle. So you have 2022, 2023, 24, 25, 26. So as long as the project was completed by June of 27, that's kind of the timeline with the current funds.
So Brian, you talk about the current funds. Does that
Which
reflect
isn't enough.
today's price? Because if R.A. Smith has not engineered yet, we don't even know what the costs are going to be. So if it's going to be an 80-20, 50-50,
This is 50-50.
50-50, they could be falling short.
Correct.
Well,
So
we
like,
are showing this to this projection by like $160,000.
so I was like when we
Projection though.
On their new fund.
Correct.
Okay.
So when the county applies for similar funding, like basically, I will look at like if I'm applying now for a future project, I will like cost it in today's dollars, and then I will build this, like if I'm applying now for a project in 2025, I'll price it in 2023 dollars and basically apply like a 2-year inflation if it's a project that's getting, just, and you never know what's going to happen, but at least you have some sort of
Something, yeah.
fudge factor built in. And so, Tom and I have talked about this a little bit, that now it looks like, based on estimates right now, that maybe there's a shortfall in the funding. Kind of went through Town of Waterloo and City of Waterloo at a joint project with the same types of funds this current year. And so they went in the project jointly. When the project was submitted, there was also an engineering firm, not R.A. Smith, but another engineering firm that did an estimate, and everybody's thought process, it was for a mile of pulverized and overlay. And so like the scope of the work is similar. I forget exactly what the footage is on the Rock Lake Road project, but they'd come up with, an engineer came up with an estimate of $360,000. And I and everyone else assumed it was for the town and the city, jointly. And, when I looked at the number, I was like, yeah, it makes sense. Because like when the county, when we do a mile of county highway pulverized and overlaid, it is somewhere in the vicinity of $300,000 to $350,000. So it wasn't until the beginning of this year, and the town chair in Waterloo was asking, well, what, now that construction is imminent here, about to start, in the spring, summer, how much will the town be on the hook for? And then we had that meeting, and it came out somehow that, well, the $360,000 was just going to be the city's portion. And I was like, no way. I'm like, there's no way that a half-mile road is going to cost that much. So, we talked, and I recommended to them, as I kind of had this discussion with Tom as well, that I said, my recommendation is you move forward. I said, I don't think it's going to come in that high. And so, I guess my concern right now is if R.A. Smith is coming up with their estimate based on numbers right now, in the bids that he's seeing, right now in July, August of 2023, and this is the absolute, worst, horrible time that a community can bid a project. So if you're looking at bid prices right now in the last 30, 60 days, in the heart of construction season, contractors are so bogged down with work. They'll throw out a number, but the numbers are going to be, through the roof. So, I can't say with 100% certainty, but I still feel like there is the option that the town could move forward. So, for instance, in Waterloo, that they did move forward. One other thing that we could do, that I explained to Tom as kind of a safety mechanism, is the county is not allowed to bid on that work, but what we can do is we can provide a sealed estimate of what our labor, equipment, and material cost would be to do the project. And it is a safety mechanism for the communities that if the bids are totally haywire, that we not only have to be low, but we have to be 10% or more lower than the lowest bid, and then all the bids can get thrown out, and the town could utilize the county to do the work. So again, I would say, you could move forward with the project, and even you could either use us if it seems like our number is in line with the costs that have already been estimated, or our cost is going to be reflective in what we bid out our asphalt each late winter, early spring. So if we get gouged by the contractors that we buy it from, our cost would go up some potentially, but you could throw out all the bids, but I just feel, if you push it off a year, the costs are going to go up even more. So
So I'm going to throw some ifs out. So one option for us is to get it engineered and get it out for bid when everyone else is bidding. And then we get the bids back, and at that point we could just look at the thing and say, if they're just ridiculous or whatever, we could just say at that time, we just toss them all.
Yep.
And then it's not going to happen for obviously another year until we rebid it again.
So the DOT, they go 300 feet on each side of the bridge, right? Out, so we're not responsible for.
No, so like what I forget if it's 200, whatever that number might be, but yeah, in the bridge plans, it specifies how far, because in order to get the clearance under the bridge, so that the road has to, they can't raise I-94, so the other alternative is they have to drop Rock Lake Road. So yeah, they'll drop Rock Lake Road in order to drop that to get the clearance under the bridge. And yeah, I forget the exact figure, but they're
And
going back.
they'll taper it back up or whatever.
So yeah, that would be at no expense to the town.
So in the town of Waterloo, then they're looking at doing Rock Lake Road from 89 to.
No, their
our
project is
junction?
Waterloo Road. It's just,
Yeah,
So then they're not.
but it's
Okay.
the same. It's
I
the
thought
s-
maybe they're gonna try to tie
It
it
was
together.
No.
it was a similar,
it's just the same pot of money.
Okay.
same
Okay.
kind. What, they're gonna bid in January or before January?
The DOT.
Yeah, when is the, I didn't really specify that deadline for when they wanted to.
Yeah,
do it.
I mean, I feel like
Or
their
get the
final
funding.
plans and everything, I think are due like any time now. I mean, don't quote me on it, but they might be bidding it even yet this fall.
Okay. Because, we're strapped for cash. I mean, the only thing I could say is like, if we, did approve Ari Smith to engineer it and made it contingent on them not billing us till next year.
I mean, one other possible benefit that if the town did want to, is there's no guarantee, but like, if this was bid early, obviously there's going to be a bridge contractor that bids on the DOT bridges, but they're going to need a subcontractor that's doing the paving on Rock Lake
Asphalt.
Road and any paving on I-94 associated with it. So there's certainly a chance that, let's just say if it's Payne and Dolan that gets the paving as a subcontractor on the I-94 job, it's like, would they bid it, your project and give a good number at it, basically looking, we can marry these two projects together, so to speak. I mean, again, there's no guarantee, but it's a potential cost savings there if we end up with the same contractor.
You just talked yourself out of doing that job, didn't you?
It is what it is. I mean,
No, I get it.
it's just want to present the
He
town
wants to
with.
see us get the best price.
Exactly. That's what it's about. I mean, it's like, there's plenty of work out there for us to do, whether it's our work or, so it's, just want to present options to the town in terms of potential cost-effective options.
Now, how about we scale it back?
The worst trouble is we got worse roads.
Yeah.
Can the project overall be scaled back? Because like I was just asking Jim, the total cost is what, $450,000 that we have to pay up front.
That's a good question. So generally, I mean, there's different pots or sub-pots of money in the LRIP program with this discretionary so if it's just the generic LRIP money that every community is eligible for on like a cyclical basis, you can ask for project changes and such, but with this LRIP discretionary and the competitive nature, I mean, it's not impossible, but depending what the nature of the change is. I mean, for instance, like, I'm trying to remember which road was the road, like probably 10 years or so ago, where it had the discretionary money. And,
London Road.
yes. And so with that, it was kind of similar in that, an estimate was put together and all of a sudden they got into the engineering. And I think they did some soil borings during engineering, and all of a sudden they saw that the soils were terrible and there was going to be all this over excavation that was required. And so that's where the cost kind of skyrocketed. And so like I assisted the township at that time in discussions with the DOT, and I said, okay, rather than the town having to like punt on this project, because at that very time we had a section of Highway P where I looked and we were also going to have to do a lot of over excavation on one of our projects, and instead we used fly ash stabilization, that we didn't do any additional excavation. We just we ground up the asphalt, spread fly ash in and mixed it up with the existing asphalt, I mean, that stiffens up, pretty significantly. And the DOT, and the consultant at the time was like, that's never gonna work, the DOT's not, and I was like, why don't you just step aside, let me try to work and the DOT did buy into that, so there are possibilities depending. So, but then the project got killed politically because the residents didn't want it. But so there are possibilities, but there's no guarantees.
Well, the only section, I mean, realistically, the only section we could shorten on that whole thing is gonna be from the town of Waterloo line to, what is that, cemetery, that junction there? Because the rest of that road, when those trucks drive down it, it's gonna be gone.
Yeah.
It's gonna be gone. It will be our worst road.
That's a good point.
It's gonna wreck it. I mean, that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's inevitable.
So don't you want them to, that, we would do the road after the bridge is done?
Correct. Well,
Oh,
that would happen.
absolutely.
That would happen anyway. But
So that's in 2020.
But what I'm saying is, if we decide not to do any of this, or the longer we postpone it, that road's gonna be gone, and how are we gonna fix it? Once
Well,
they start their
they're
project.
starting the bridge in November, potentially.
No, I mean, the construction, they may bid it in November, but the construction probably won't start until April, May, I'm guessing, of 24. Yeah, 24.
24. So when is it complete?
Probably by
Year
Thanksgiving.
project, the way they move on the interstate, a year or two. They're still doing Boston, it's 4 years already.
That'll probably be Thanksgiving, it'll be late in the year.
Yeah.
It'll be late in the year, and there would be a chance that, I mean, probably a slim chance that we would get pushed into doing our road into the spring of 25 anyway.
That would be a lot
It's
better.
hard to say though.
Well, I mean, I think
That's a hard projection to figure.
if you're, because I mean, they'll do one of the two bridges first, and then they'll do the other bridge on the freeway because they're packaged together. So I would say that if Rock Lake Road would go next year, then it would. I think then they would have to make sure that the Rock Lake Road bridge gets done first. So if it's like 3 to 4 months to do that bridge, if they were, April, May, June, July, so that at least you'd still have summer and into the fall to actually do the Rock Lake.
But it's not gonna matter, because if they do the other bridge, they're taking that direction to go to that other bridge, because we can't have them going down Newville Road, tearing up a
Right.
brand new road.
Exactly.
So it's either way, we have to wait till both bridges are done to do the road.
So Cemetery Road, we're gonna get jumped.
It's
Yep.
gonna get to be the next
Yep.
one, but rather than a new road.
Yeah.
And I mean, and we can, the town can dictate to the DOT, like all routes and everything. I mean, and I would say, the intent is there, but I mean, in terms of like what traffic does, I mean, it just,
I got a squad car.
yeah.
Sneak down there.
Well, on Rock Lake Road, at least from the bridge, or to the starting point down to that intersection is the worst part of that road anyway, really.
Can you do engineering first and then pay that? And then that just rolls into the...
I mean, the engineering it can be eligible in the funding, if that's what you're asking.
Yes, I know that, but you could do that a year ahead of time and still be... and
Yeah, I
pay it
mean, so
all.
because you have until.
But you wouldn't get
Correct.
reimbursed for that until the project's completed, correct?
Correct.
So
So there are some DOT fund, like there was that LRIP supplemental program a number of years ago, and with that, I think you could ask for it in an installment. So if you were doing design 1 year, construction another year, once you're done with design, but typically with the LRIP funding, once it's completely.
Okay. And what was the engineering? 40, 60,000? 40,000?
Crossman Road was like 60,000.
No, it's on the thing.
It was like 20.
It was on the bid, right?
Yeah. I don't
Or
remember
his
off the top of my
estimate,
head.
R.A. Smith's estimate. I thought it was like 40,000.
Might have been a hair bit less than that, but I don't remember off the top of my head.
We would have that in 2024, correct?
Yes, we do all those and paid off.
That's what I'm saying, it'd have to be contingent that they don't bill us until
I'm saying
If we
you would
wanted-
have you would have that money in 2024,
Correct.
because you're gonna have 200,000.
But if we want to get something ready to have them all bid out at the same time to see what the costs come in at, which,
Yeah, so you'd want him to do it and bill us in 2024.
but we'd have to get his approval, so the motion would have to be contingent on him wanting,
Well,
his company doing it, which I mean, we're using them for a lot of stuff, I would think they would do it, but never know.
My opinion is I don't think we need to worry about bidding the road with the DOT's bridges. I agree with Brian that successful contractor for the bid is gonna want that project, want our project. I feel that they're gonna they don't have to relocate equipment and stuff, it's all there. So there's a,
There may be cost savings, there may not be, I don't know. Who knows what's going on right
so
now.
if we have R.A. Smith do it later this year, and then, or we're already late this year, early next year, we could pay them in 2024, their engineering fee.
Guess
We wouldn't have to ask them.
One other option would be, unless this is what you're, I mean, I've heard other townships, see if this is like, to ask R.A. Smith, could they provide engineering services now and defer the invoice until 2024?
That's what I meant, yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure if that's,
Yeah.
doesn't hurt.
Do the engineering now, but we don't bill us until
Yeah.
24.
Okay.
It doesn't hurt to ask.
All right, I thought you were talking
The
24.
worst they could say is no.
That's fine.
No, not 25, no.
I'm sorry. That was a year off.
That's just to get the engineering underway and try to get it all bid out at the same time.
Okay, so you want a motion to have R.A. Smith do the engineering?
And it may be involve, well, talking to R.A. Smith, because it's gonna go to a manager, I'm sure.
Okay, you ready for a motion?
Yep, hit
I
it.
make a motion that we have R.A. Smith do the engineering for Rock Lake Road, and Tom is to check, see if they'll defer the payment till 2024.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. All right, stay up there, Brian, don't run away. Discussion or decision on Fourth Lane shoulder maintenance option. Well, the county's gonna do the shouldering, so I don't know. What do you think that's gonna cost to do that?
Blacktop or gravel?
No, just gravel for now, because we can't afford it right now to do a paved gutterway or whatever.
Or we wait.
Unless you're gonna defer billing until 27.
So we can defer till early next year, but seems like our bills don't get sent out till late in the year anyway.
Did you estimate the cost of it?
I don't think that we have put that together. I mean, that's something.
It's about 100 yards.
I know, right? I just literally I've been back from vacation time, like literally like a matter of hours. And right before I left, I did ask our accounting folks to run me a report of what the Korth projects costed, both the cul-de-sac and Korth Highlands and the paving that we did. So I'm not even sure if they ran the reports. I didn't have a chance to look at them before I left.
We've paid Kane and Dolan twice now, just over $5,000 each time,
Okay.
so that helped.
Yeah, I remember I had asked you and you had sent me that
Yeah,
information.
copies of it, and, yeah.
Well, if you had to do a rough shot off the top of your head, the gravel is gonna be minimal, obviously.
Yeah, the gravel would be minimal, but it's
Just to get it fixed for now.
It just, with that slope,
Well, it's not gonna hold, we know that.
So what are you talking, 3/4 with fines, or you talking 3-inch?
I mean, I think the best option, if we got some good millings packed in there, recycled asphalt millings,
And roll
try to compact them in there.
That might buy us a year, maybe, if we don't get a massive rainfall.
If we're gonna use some sort of, gravelish type material, I think that's the best option that way. Otherwise, I think everything's.
Yeah, because you're looking at 100 yards of gutterway, that's gonna be, I don't know, 20 grand,
If you paved it.
paved it.
Yeah.
It's a good
Good
chunk.
ballpark, yeah.
Because you gotta do it all the way to the bottom.
You got any money left there?
What's that?
You got any money left at the county?
And-
Well, that was why I was asking our accounting folks, was to see
Yeah, we
like
need
how
to know
much,
where we're at with that.
how much Korth actually came
That
out.
would kind of get burned up in Court Highland.
Yeah, pretty sure a lot of it's
Yeah.
right there.
Yep.
So I'm sure we have all those numbers entered now. I just, like I said, I didn't have a chance to look at them
Well,
before.
I would rather
We
wait
haven't
till,
gotten a bill for it, so.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I would rather just do the packed asphalt for now. I know it's kind of.
Don't spray it with oil.
Wait till we get an estimate.
Seal coat.
100 and seal coated. Hell yeah.
Make a motion that we do the packed asphalt on the shoulder and then ask the county for an estimate for asphalt for next year.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Discussion or decision of grant for Rock Lake Road project in conjunction with the Overpass project. Well, it's kind of already it,
Yeah, we discussed that, right?
so I don't know if we need to do anything else there.
Nope.
New business. All right, Brian, I think we got it. You can enjoy the last 4 hours of your vacation now. Maybe. All right, discussion or decision of text amendments to adopt for town ordinances 1-6 ward boundaries, 1-11 assessment reports and fees with tax bills, 2-4 license for soda water beverages, 2-5 for direct sellers, 3-5 for assemblages of large numbers of people, and 6-2 for driving regulations. And
Make a motion that we approve 1-6 ward boundaries.
Second.
any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. All right, discussion or decision of reapplying for Mud Lake Road
No,
grant.
no, no, one ordinance at a time.
Oh, you want to do these all?
Make a motion to
Okay.
do, approve ordinance 1-11 assessment reports and fees for
Yep, you're right.
duplicate tax bills.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
Make a motion to approve ordinance 2-4 license for soda, water, beverages, cigarettes, and auction.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
Make a motion to approve the 2-5 regulation of direct seller ordinance.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
Make a motion to approve ordinance 3-5 regulation of the assemblage of a large number of people.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
Okay, ordinance 6-2. There are some corrections I want to check on, and I want to work with Robin on it, so I would table that one until next month.
I will second Jim's table for 6-2.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion, or 6-2 driving regulations tabled. All right, moving on. Discussion or decision of reapplying for Mud Lake Road grant and updated costs. So that went from would go from an STP local, which we initially applied for, I think. And that was around it's short of $1 million. I think. It's like 2 miles of road. And the next one would be an LRIP, so that one might be a 50-50. And based on Corey's projections, of course, that was like a 20-some% increase, so that would be looking at probably like $1.2 million or something like that. So,
Yeah.
granted, you would have, what is that, a four-year window to complete it or whatever? So, and that's on, the cycle is this fall to apply for that.
So we should be getting information from the DOT in the next month or so. We'll be holding our LRIP meetings. So applications would be due the next LRIP cycle, end of this year, beginning right away in 24. So it would be we consider the 24-25 cycle, then you would have, let's see, till June of 29 to spend money in that cycle.
We're gonna double up on projects, are we gonna be able to float this with money?
Well, you don't have to because you have till 29 to do the project.
Okay.
It's over a course of, just like Rock Lake Road, we have till, what, 27? I mean, we would have till 27 if we keep seeing bids and we don't like them or whatever, however it all pans out.
The only bad thing is.
Financial standpoint.
The only bad thing is, the last time was a 80-20. and-
You're right.
And the state.
And we could wait
and the
for
state
another.
handled it, which made it nice because we didn't have to pay till it was all done.
Right.
20%. We didn't have to pay everything
Yep.
upfront.
Yep.
Now this LRIP is 50/50, again, we have to pay the whole thing
Correct.
and get
it's a
reimbursed.
$1.2 million project.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
So you guys did submit an SCP local and it,
That was under that BIO.
For the 2022, 23 cycle, or 20, the last one anyway. We got turned down.
We got turned down. Yeah, so,
do you know how the project's stored? I don't know if Corey or anybody asked, like how it, because I know that like, we were working with the town of Jefferson on a project just south of town, pretty close to our office, and they got turned down once and were encouraged to reapply, and they were told that they just missed, and if they reapplied, DOT told them that it was pretty much guaranteed when they reapplied, and they just missed again. So,
well, he did some things in that grant to make it more, viable, and one was the middle section of that road isn't horrific, so he's just like, let's just kind of pull that out and just let the town incur that expense for just a mill and overlay or whatever. And focus on the other stuff. And then, of course, the state properties over there, the conservation campground and all that stuff. So, I kind of thought it would be, and Mud Lake Road is about gone in the sections that were being applied for. So, I mean, as far as road rankings are concerned, it was pretty tough shape.
we are in the midst of another STP cycle too. I mean, it's just if you guys wanted to.
We are?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
I have the letter written that I need to get out to municipalities. It's sitting on my desk that I have to send out.
That, I mean, we would rather go that road.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the work is done.
Yeah.
I mean, really all, you can ask Corey to, blow the dust
Yeah, it's,
off and,
yep.
Again, put that inflation factor on and throw it in again. I mean, the work is done. If you already,
Yeah.
so that might be the plan, best plan of attack for that one.
I'm always told at the county unit chairperson meetings, that we got the District 6 representative for the Towns Association is on the committee that does the selection of those bids. And he says that the most important thing is a story, paragraph, a story. I don't know if any of you guys can come up with a great story. But
If you guys want me to look at your, I can't write your story for you, but if you want me to look at your story for you.
well, it wouldn't hurt. 'Cause I don't know, I never saw what was submitted. I don't think I did.
Neither did I.
So it would be nice to see if that's all in there, because he stresses that's really important.
Absolutely.
They read that first.
I mean, you have to, even for these discretionary projects, you have to write a story. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's where you lose.
All right, well, I think we know what we need to do there.
So do we want to go for the STP?
Yeah, let's just.
Just so you know, so those applications are due to the DOT, I believe the date is October 27th.
Well, like you said, it should be done.
There's not much to do, you just gotta, and if the story needs a little tweaking, that shouldn't take long. All right, can we get a motion for that?
Well, can you have Corey send us to see what he submitted?
Well, if it's due in October.
Can,
No, no.
that's only gonna be in a month.
I don't mean to, I want to see it. We can apply for it. I make a motion.
Oh, yeah, no, that's not.
So we apply for
Yeah.
it, for the STP.
Second.
Any other discussion? Have Corey send,
Yeah, so you can see what's in there. Maybe somebody can add something to it.
historical, yeah, okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. All right, discussion and or decision of resolution for levy increase.
Those are paperwork that we did last spring, or a year ago.
There you go. Yeah.
And we told by the Department of Revenue that it has to be done in the fall, so we're gonna try to do it where we're going to do it at the budget meeting, especially budget time in November.
Special budget meeting.
Okay, yeah.
It was just to get the ball rolling, so
Get it on
we're ready
rolling.
when that time comes.
Okay.
And I can work with Robin on that too. We gotta wait for numbers. They come out in September.
Yeah, we got, wait.
So we can get this all filled out. But the one thing is
The language has to be updated so it's
this,
continuous. right?
yes, this is what it should say. The increase of $200,000 was what we had the last time, is to be added to the tax levy. The $200,000 increase is to be used for highway, oh no, that wasn't it. Anyway, it wasn't, what was that?
Andrea,
Never mind.
that we worked with at the DOT.
Okay, the $200,000 is to be added to the tax levy each subsequent year, and the $200,000 is to be used for highway purposes only. We need to include that. The Department of Revenue says you should include that. Wisconsin Towns Association says you should include that. Our attorney's the one that said we couldn't do that. So there's the rip right there.
Yeah, we could have done that correctly last year,
Yeah.
but our attorney
We
advised
wanted
us.
to, but our attorney advised us not to. And this thing would have been all done.
Yeah.
But anyway, I feel we should go with the recommendation from the town's attorneys and the Department of Revenue.
They're the ones giving us the funds.
They're the ones that approve it.
Yeah, they're the ones in charge of it, so.
But
We
what
were-
happens when you wanna go back and raise that? So like, for one of these grants, if we don't wanna take out a loan, and we wanna go back and get more money,
Gotta save up the money first,
Then you do another resolution and ask for more.
yeah.
that's what we're gonna have to do then.
It's, yeah.
And that's what I was wondering, because we were at 150 and we went to 200 and it went over. Do you ask for another 50 or 25?
What's that?
2.25, 250?
Well, I think we're better off at this point as we, as we entertain these grants. We're gonna have a number sitting in front of us. And you wanna pay it off without taking out a loan.
Yeah, I get that.
So you either play a waiting game,
But this is gonna be November
no, I
when
know,
this gets approved. So
right.
it would be the time to increase if we're going to.
No, and I know, and we're gonna be staring at that, whatever for Rock Lake Road. It's gonna
We have to
be,
have the electors approve it.
otherwise you gotta take a short-term loan out to cover the 200 and
Right.
whatever, some thousand
But do we
dollars.
really increase the number?
I would, I would get that, we're gonna need this, if we're gonna go down that road, we need to ramp it up sooner than later, because you're gonna run up against these costs where a road continues to deteriorate, and you're gonna end up spending more money fixing the road than you are on interest
We're
rates.
already there, Tom.
So I mean, you gotta, there's a balance there, like, from a financial standpoint.
The other thing that,
So like, do we say, yeah, do we want the total 400 and some $1,000, and then you keep the 200,000 in a revolving door for future grants, so you don't have to take loans out? I mean,
I don't think you're
I don't
gonna
know all
wanna
the
ask.
legalities of that, but
I don't think you're gonna wanna ask for 400,000. I think you're gonna wanna increase our, resolution so you can pack it.
no, then I would increase, I would go
You
substantially.
think 250 would fly?
I don't know if 250 would fly. Well,
you're
here's
gonna
the
have to
deal.
sell it. You guys are gonna have to sell it.
Yeah.
Us guys.
I mean, I would go for 3. You gotta be able to pack 100 away.
You can ask for it, and the electors can say, no, we're only gonna.
Otherwise,
Jim, what if they say, we're not gonna approve anything, we're taking it all
Yeah,
away?
well, they could
That
do
would be
that.
the fear you'd have.
Yeah.
They could do that. yeah.
The 200, they're used to it, I mean, it's.
Otherwise, I think you're not gonna get away from taking out a short-term loan to cover that little gap before you get reimbursed. I just don't think you'll ever do it.
And that's not
I
a
think that's
horrible
where you have to
thing.
manage the program so that we're not doing 2 or 3 at the same time.
Right, right. And you might get back into that corner.
It's okay if you know that ahead of time. The last time we did that, we were
We didn't.
scrambling because nobody knew what the grant
It was
was.
never planned out.
And all of a sudden, we had to pay the whole bill. That was a rip there. So, you guys think about it. We don't have to have a number until.
I would say
next month.
250, but that's just me.
So we'll keep working
All
on
right.
this one.
Yeah.
Then, Rob, we just have to know what that's gonna add, because right now we're at, what, at $20? I think,
Yeah,
pretty much.
how much that's gonna add to the levy is specific for the town, yeah.
Yeah. You'll add about $7 per 100,000 back.
So we'd be up to about 26 $7 total.
Well,
It's
maybe actually. Depends on how.
100,000 is $15 per 100,000.
Right.
Right.
With our value.
What do they complain about most?
Well, yeah, right, yeah. But
No, I
we
know.
just have to start thinking about it.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Because we have to have that number to ask our electors.
It's
We have
hard.
to be able to explain what it is we're asking of them.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, roads aren't getting better. They're gonna keep deteriorating at a rapid rate, and you know one thing.
Right.
So I mean, if you can get the grants, you gotta
Gotta go for
You
them.
gotta go for them. All right, discussion update on Drainage District number 15 litigation.
You read it all? Everybody read it?
I agree, yeah, it's, they don't wanna pay the bill. That's the gist of it, right?
Well, and it's
Time to go to court.
a bill that they've been ordered by the court to pay in full.
Yes, so I think it's a pretty easy decision tonight.
Still associated with the bridge.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep,
But still, there's a couple things in there that, like, on the assessment, you have the Department of Transportation, 0.
Yeah, I know, so.
And then you have the Town of Lake Mills, $408, I think it is.
But what they're trying to do is take two issues and lump it into one when there's already a court order to address the one
the
issue.
first issue, yeah.
Yeah, but the problem with it is the county, thanks Brian for being here, doesn't pay benefits from Highway S. That runs all the way down through our ditches, because we're 15D, which we pay all the way to Cambridge, because that's 15. Then the other thing is I really have a problem with is the buy-in. If you are a farmer upstream and you want to have benefited acres, there's definitely a buy-in because there's going to be a history of costs done from years prior. There's no reason why we should ever have to pay a buy-in fee. That's silly. The other thing is to have benefit acres, you have to have underground drainage. The town of Lake Mills does not have underground drainage.
Well, there's that pipe.
But that pipe is off the right of way, Jim, and that is in Dave Hughes's field. So
I know.
he's
I know
sitting there
where the
trying
pipe
to blame it on us. Well, then we should go out and we should break it.
But where's the inlet? The inlet is in
Take it out of
our
the right
ditch.
of way.
It's in the right of way.
I think it's out of the right of way, isn't it?
Right away, boundary.
Well, then we ought to go after him for putting, excavating in a road right of way.
I don't know how that ever got there.
These are two
Well, I heard
separate
stories
issues
on
of this.
how that.
Yeah, it's it's really, this doesn't have anything to do with the original.
Yeah, I know, but still, it's just.
No, they mentioned,
They're trying to
they
combine
mentioned
the
that
two.
pipe in their judgment.
We would have to measure it to see, because the day we were out there when we were cleaning, Dave Hughes says, well, see there, you guys have underground drainage, there's that pipe.
Do you know who put that pipe in?
Oh,
It was.
Hughes?
yeah.
Well,
When
so it's
he
not the
tiled
town.
that, when they put in the terraces.
Well, it's not the town's pipe
Clarify.
then.
No.
Right now, my
So-
understanding would be that they're actually.
Well, that's just information to the
By
attorney.
paying what the order
What's
says.
that?
Well, that's information we can give the attorney.
Yeah, I don't know, I guess,
Districts in contempt of
the
court.
problem with it is,
Yeah, I would think so.
number one, I have a conflict of interest because I'm gonna pay one way or another. I'm gonna pay as a taxpayer, or I'm gonna pay as a member of that district. So, I don't know if we should open this thing all back up, because if you read through all this stuff, they're just looking for excuses to justify not having to give the money back.
Well, and if we
Well-
agree to this and pay it, that means we're recognizing that we should have that buy-in, that we should be assessed for it.
And I say no, but it comes down to how much money do you want to spend?
Yeah, I agree.
So do you roll over and play dead and just pay the damn money?
I think you have to.
Because I'm thinking you're setting precedent.
You're gonna keep paying,
Attorneys
oh my God, to
and court costs. It's just not, to me, it's not.
we're already so far in the hole on this thing.
I have to accept the water from the roadbed. Whether it's Highway 18, Highway S, Highway A, I have to accept that water. So what makes the difference?
Well, we got a little more, we got $1,200 more out of them, but we probably spent $3,000 on attorney
But
fees.
if we accept that money, then we're recognizing
Well,
what's there as what we agreed
Well,
to.
we can get
as
an opinion from him.
First of all, it's a navigable stream.
I mean, I was
That's
gonna say,
water of the state.
In any drainage district ditch, there's certainly road water that goes in it, but I mean, that's not the intent of the drain, the drainage ditch was,
Yeah.
built to accommodate, subsurface flow from the tiles.
We can get one last opinion on it, as far as what he feels on that, if we
Yeah,
But-
we can. I would.
and address it next month.
It's either you're gonna roll over and play dead.
Yeah. I don't have a problem doing that. I just think that they're just, the minute you don't, they're just gonna keep adding more stuff on until you're blue in the face. I don't,
Well, one thing in their letter, they say that they don't have to do the public hearing for the assessments, which you're involved in.
I've been to plenty of them,
Yeah, okay. So,
And they're court ordered.
yeah, so they say that the buy-in fee doesn't have to go through that process because basically they don't have enough money to do a public hearing, or whatever the letter said, which I thought was pretty weak. But anyway, the $418 or whatever assessment, is that every year?
No, that would be only, according to the judge, you have to maintain 5% of the value of that assessed benefited acres in the kitty. Anytime it becomes less than that, or you are going to do some major projects, then there becomes a public hearing for that section of the drain. For example, all the trees were taken out of the east side of the Koshkonong Creek. That's not a drainage ditch.
Yeah.
And that assessment was, I think, what was it, 40,000, something like that. And public information, I paid $6,000.
So what I would bring up is that if we accept this, the way the letter is written now, but have our attorney write them a letter stating that any future assessments, we're going to require a public hearing as per state statute, and then argue it at that time if they're going to assess us again.
And see, Jim, the thing of it is when they did have the public hearing for Drain 15, we were all invited, but the town was not. Because there was a public hearing. So at that
To
time,
make it a requirement that they, if they don't follow the state statute and hold a public hearing and have us go there.
either that or was the town of Lake Mills not in the district at that time. Now all of a sudden it's convenient and we are. I don't know, I'm not a
They're
lawyer.
still combining two separate issues too.
Yeah, but it's all in the same plot.
Yeah, but from a court standpoint, they're two separate issues.
Yeah.
yeah, and I mean, from his viewpoint, the attorney's viewpoint, they're gonna wanna close out the court order. Whatever, I mean, if there's a court order, now, did that all come after the fact, or was that originally there? I mean, if it comes after the fact of the court order, then it shouldn't even be included. Legally.
After.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, this is
Well, so
all
it's
after.
added after, then
Is there
there was already a court order
reaction
for
to
them to
having to
pay.
pay us?
Yeah, so I mean, maybe just make that part of your motion.
Because the thing is, we get a buy-in
If
fee.
they added in stuff after the court order to pay us. So realistically, it should be addressed as two separate issues then. They can't consider that part of that first issue because they added it in way after the fact of the court order.
The other thing,
Correct.
Tom,
I don't disagree with you, but
is because if there is
they're not
benefit,
gonna back down, they're gonna
Well, I know that.
go to court again, and we're gonna end up in court again.
every
That's what
time
I'm
there's
looking at.
trees and stuff, we pay for the maintenance of it right away. If you're gonna work off the assessment, then the drainage district has to
Or you just don't
maintain.
accept anything before you're done with it?
Like-
Or you just don't accept the check that they're sending and just say, we're done? We're not recognizing that we're,
I don't know, I have a conflict of interest, I don't like it. I think,
Well,
I
I
think
think
one way or
we
the
should,
other.
I think we should get our money. I mean, we're probably not gonna make out on the deal, but.
Then make the motion. It's not my motion.
I I make a motion to have our attorney address the legal issue with the District 15 drainage, or the Drainage District number 15, on the basis of the court order.
Second. Are you also going to stick something in there for the assessment and the buy-in? Because we've never been members as a town, and now we are.
What is it that you're adding, amending to it?
No, I was just a question in the
Oh.
discussion part.
Well, we can do that as a separate motion, Kelly,
Yeah.
Cambridge
but
is assessed.
so we don't have this.
Oakland or?
Cambridge, the city,
Yeah, it's in that assessment.
for the wastewater they dump in or what?
But we've never been before, so
Right.
it's, okay,
Yeah.
I think that was Dave's point.
I know that. I'm just saying, he said the state of Wisconsin wasn't, which I agree, but I thought Cambridge
No, yeah, the last one.
was in there. Maybe not.
But that's probably gonna be storm
You said
water.
this one.
I'm gonna bet, Jim, which is gonna be underground.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'm not gonna amend it, I'm just gonna keep the court
Peter,
order.
Yep.
roll call vote, because of roll call vote.
Yeah, because I'm gonna abstain.
Yep.
I have to.
All in favor,
I think
say,
do we have a second?
he seconded it.
I did.
Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
No, chairperson,
Aye.
Jim Hines,
Aye.
Dave Schrader.
I abstain my vote.
Motion carries. All right.
Conservation Road.
Discussion or decision on appraisal, town owned property and conservation road.
It's $8,000. Right?
Abandoned
Yeah.
location, yes, 8,000.
I make a motion that we list with a realtor.
I would second that motion. Let's get rid of it.
Any other discussion?
Just one
How are we
question.
gonna
Do we
sell
have permission to sell it?
It's permission from the town
We have to
electors,
get
right?
permission from the electors to sell this.
Once we have an offer.
Once we, sure. My logistical question is which realtor, because
How about that one that tries to tell a story? That was in here.
Oh, yeah,
Maybe we should get
Adrian Stibbs.
Stibbs. Oops.
She lives on the border of the town of Waterloo and the town of Lake Mills. Anybody that lives in the town of Lake Mills?
I don't know.
I guess we can see what we can do.
Okay, we had a second, right?
Yes.
Any other discussion other than that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
Okay.
Correspondence.
Early March, I just want to make sure you know that the video service provider report was completed. We get 4% of the franchise fees from Spectrum each year, which ends up being, I think, just over $20,000. And then the liquor license report was submitted too. That goes to the Department of Revenue each year.
Okay. Discussion of future agenda items.
I have one.
Oh, you have correspondence.
Yeah. From the county meeting again, just for the public that there's a survey out there for broadband, participation in broadband. And I encourage everybody to fill it out, go online and fill it out. It's a Wiser survey, W-I-S-E-R. But it's a long website, and I was wondering if we could put it on our website. But this is not internet. Internet is considered a line directly to your house, and you plug something in the wall. So satellite, phone, that's not internet. So they're looking to get grant money, more grant money. The county has like $10 million, I think, for this program that's going on now, and there's more money available. And if the more people fill out this survey, the better chances the county has of getting more money.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Jim. Discussion of future agenda items?
I've got so far is the 6-2 ordinance traffic regulations, the tabled items, which one is the Cambridge Fire and EMS? It's covered, so,
Do we want an informational on the whole bug tussle rip? Just destruction, because we're gonna, I'll find out.
They are tough.
Or you just want me to do that during reports?
just in the reports.
Okay.
I'm sure we might have some zoning applications come through too, so.
Okay. All right, meeting schedule September 5th, 2023, Plan Commission meeting 7 PM at Town Hall. September 7th, 2023, Parks Committee meeting 7 PM Town Hall. September 12th, 2023, Town Board meeting 7 PM at Town Hall. September 14th, Joint Rock Lake Committee meeting 6 PM City Hall. September 14th, 2023, Town Hall Facilities Committee meeting 6 PM at the Town Hall. And then there's the meeting this Thursday, right?
Okay.
Town Hall meeting.
It's already posted.
Yep.
You'll also be getting a posting from the Fire EMS Commission too, meeting Thursday night.
That's already posted.
Is it already? Okay.
All right.
Make sure you read why we're going into closed session. And then who's gonna stay?
The town board of the town of Lake Mills, we'll move into closed session under 90.85 Wisconsin statutes. The nature of business to be considered in the closed session is the following: discussion of emerging medical services contract, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business wherever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session pursuant to 19.85 1E Wisconsin stat. And B, the Lake Mills Town Board will approve the persons to be allowed to enter and remain in the approved closed session, subject to the individual or group removal of any person from the closed session any time by majority vote of the town board members present and voting in the closed session. The town board of the town of Lake Mills will reconvene into open session to make any necessary decisions and then adjourn the special meeting. Can we get a motion?
I'll make a motion, we go into closed session. Second.
Any other discussion?
Who's going to remain? All of them?
Not
Yeah, not Brian.
I'm sure you don't want to say it.
No.
Yeah, it's been a short night so far. How do you shut all this stuff
Yeah,
off,
you gotta do whatever.
Tom? Robbins, the camera lady. Did you? Yeah,
I didn't
call the question.
I did not call the question.
Yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say nay. Move into closed session.